Monsieur le Secrétaire Général des Nations Unies,
Mr. Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, ladies and gentlemen, heads of state and heads of government, Madam Executive Secretary of our conference, ladies and gentlemen, ministers, today is truly historic. France is hosting 150 heads of state and government, thousands of delegates from all continents. Never has a conference welcomed so many high-ranking leaders from so many countries, and never, and I emphasize never, have the stakes been as high as they are today for an international meeting, because we are indeed talking about the future of the planet, the future of life itself. Yet, 2 weeks ago, here in Paris, a group of fanatics sowed death in the streets of Paris. Today, I want to express the gratitude of the whole French people for all the expressions of support, signs of friendship that we have received since November 13th. These tragic events affect us deeply, and they compel us to concentrate on what is essential. Your presence here gives rise to tremendous hope, and we do not have the right to disappoint this hope, because billions of people are looking at us today. I am not opposing the fight against terrorism, against the fight against climate change and global warming. These are two major challenges that we must face, because we must leave to our children more than a world that is free of terror. We owe them a planet that is safe from disasters, a viable planet. The year that we have just gone through was marked by many records: record temperatures, record CO2 concentrations, record extreme climate events such as droughts, floods, cyclones, melting of glaciers, rise of the sea level, acidification of oceans. And the victims of these phenomena are in the millions, and the material damage is estimated in the billions. No country, no region is spared from the effects and consequences of climate change. But how can we accept that the poorest countries, those that emit the less quantities of greenhouse gases, those that are the most vulnerable, be those that will be the most profoundly affected? So it is in the name of justice, climate justice, that I speak before you, and it's in the name of climate justice that we must act. We must be aware of the severity of the threats confronting the world. And there will be conflicts as a result of global warming. There will be migrations that will create more refugees than wars have in the past. Some states will no longer be able to satisfy the vital needs of their populations, with the risk of famine, rural exodus, and fighting to access water that will become increasingly scarce. So what is at cause is indeed peace. Yet there is hope that is brought about with the COP21. The international community, as of last September, has adopted a full agenda with the Sustainable Development Objectives that were adopted during the UN General Assembly, and I would like to congratulate the Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon. 190 states. In other words, almost all of the planet's countries have developed action plans intended to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and in order to adapt to climate change. All actors and stakeholders in the world community, investors, companies, citizens, civil society of all of the major regions of the world have made a commitment to protect the environment. In addition to this mobilization, there's the phenomenal progress made in renewable and clean energies that open up prospects for a decarbonated economy. To make this conference a success, France has put all of its resources and all of its efforts, starting with our foreign minister, Mr. Fabius, who will be presiding the COP21. I have gone to those regions that are the most profoundly affected by climate change. And I came back with one deep conviction: we must provide for equitable, sustainable development without compromising the limited resources of our planet. This is the equation that together we must resolve during this conference. It was my desire for the heads of state and government of countries all over the world meet right at the beginning of our work, to give a very special impetus to this conference and to give it an ambition that would be proportional to what is at stake, because on December 12th, we must reach an agreement here in Paris. How will we be able to deem that it is a good agreement, a great agreement, an agreement that truly meets the expectations of our peoples and for the long term? Three conditions must be met for us to be able to say that the Paris conference will or will not have been a success. The first condition to be met is that we must define and outline a credible trajectory so that we can contain global warming below the 2 degrees Celsius or even 1.5 degrees Celsius if possible. In order to be able to say that we can stick to this trajectory, we must be able to take stock of our progress in light of scientific evidence. And to this end, we must have a revision mechanism that can meet with our expectations with a periodicity of 5 years, 5-year reviews. The second condition is that we must show solidarity. No state should be able to pull back from its commitments. And even if there is a mechanism that provides for differentiations to take into account the different levels of development and situations of the countries. No territory or region must be left isolated to face climate change, in particular the more vulnerable countries. And I have in mind the islands, the small island states that may, in a not distant future, simply disappear. And I want to be a spokesperson for them because it is biodiversity and the very diversity of our planet that is threatened. So what are the conclusions? The agreement must be universal, it must be differentiated, and it must be binding. Developed countries must take on their historic responsibility. The developed countries for many years emitted the greatest quantities of greenhouse gases. Emerging nations must accelerate their energy transition. Developing countries must be supported in their efforts to mitigate the effect of climate change. Hence, the requirement to guarantee financing to ensure transfer of technology. In Copenhagen, we had set an objective at 100 billion. Today, we're not talking about setting an objective. We're talking about resources that must be made available with guarantees as to their provenance and their accessibility. And finally, there is a third country for us to be able to reach a good agreement in Paris. All of our societies, plural, diverse societies must move together. Local actors, social actors, investors, citizens, and the major religions of the world, all those who contribute to forging the world public spirit and opinion. All of these strands must come together and understand that everything has changed. And this is what is at stake. Right now, I would like to pay tribute to all the pioneers of ecology, environmental awareness, all the precursors who not so long ago had to square off with either incredulity or simple contempt for their attempts to warn the world and to make proposals. In just a short span of time, in a few years, the mindset has changed. Yesterday, those who were reluctant are today ready to change and to change their behavior. Do we need to still send out the necessary signals? This is what's involved by progressively introducing a price to carbon so that greenhouse gas emissions actually have a cost that is proportional to the damage sustained by the planet, and so that investment choices gradually begin to change so that all technologies can be made accessible to everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, heads of state and government, in order to resolve the climate crisis, I have to be candid. Intentions of goodwill, good intentions, do not suffice. We are on the edge of the precipice. Paris must be the beginning of profound change. We can no longer consider that nature is a simple reservoir of resources that is simply to be used for our own fulfillment. This change, this transformative change, is a moral duty and a world opportunity because it opens up opportunities for development with renewable energy, with clean transportation, with waste processing, clean agriculture, and access for all to clean technologies, and making electricity accessible to everybody, in particular in Africa. We will not just be shedding light on the earth. We will be bringing knowledge, education, development. Today, as we open our conference, our backs are against the wall. This wall is made up of the cumulative selfishness of our countries, of our resigned state of mind. That wall is built on indifference, casualness, powerlessness. But this wall can be scaled. It behooves us, and it is up to us. Ladies and gentlemen, heads of state and government, it is on your shoulders that the hope of humanity as a whole rests. I am fully aware of the task before us. How can we tackle the urgency of the task with everything that it implies, including the tragic events, with the choices for the long term? This balancing act is indeed a difficult one. But once again, it compels us. Our major challenge is to go from a civilization that was predicated on competition to a model that is based on cooperation, where it will be more profitable to protect than to destroy. We have to think of the planet as a single space. We have to come up with a pact, a covenant of equity between the North and the South, partnership between man and nature. This is why we have come together, we, leaders of the planet. This is why Paris is an outstanding and unique opportunity. For a few days now, we will make decisions that will hold true for decades to come. The major danger is not that our goal is too lofty or that we miss that goal. The danger is that it's not lofty enough and that we would be able to achieve it. So let us set it at the highest possible level so that at the very least we can approach that ambition, that aspiration, because it is here in Paris that we are truly deciding on the future of the planet. I thank you.